Okay, so good evening, everyone. Again, we are here, and thank you for your participation for our second day again. And yesterday was biology, and the reflection and the response was pretty good. Even from the survey that we had from the Google form, the reflection was pretty good, and the voting was quite high. And even my not mine lah, our Exco Academic KMS channel has also reached a subscription of around 200 subscribers. That's pretty good. And even the total views for the recording yesterday was around 2k. And since we have two subjects today, so I'm going to expect more from you guys. Okay, so I hope like there are more supports from you guys for today, and so on for the rest of the program also. And as you guys can see from the description down below, today will be the session for physics as well as accounting. Yeah. So we're gonna start with physics at 8 sharp, which is right now. And at 8:45, we're gonna have a Q&A sessions. And at 9, we're gonna continue with accounting session. And at 9:45, only then we will continue with the Q&A session for accounting. Yeah. So for physics today, we have two physics power leaders who are going to present and share the information with us. One of them is Joanna and one of them is Krishen.
Hi everyone.
So,
Hi everyone.
yeah,
So thank you for
so
joining.
Joanna is one of the heads for physics power leaders in KMS, and Krishen will be her assistant for today's presentation. So hopefully things are going to go well. And if you have any questions for their presentation today, feel free to leave your questions down at the comment section below, and we're gonna answer your questions one by one at 8:45, hopefully. Okay, so the stream is yours, Joanna and Christian.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, so can you all see?
I hope so.
Okay. Right. So today, the topic which we are going to discuss is actually topic 7, gravitation.
Okay, so today let's talk gravity. So in our presentation today, we'll be taking a step back to about like 300 years ago to when gravity was first explored and written. So in our presentation today, first subtopic we'll be covering is 7.1, which is the gravitational force and field strength. And topik yang kedua, we'll be covering the gravitational potential energy. So we're going to be talking about gravity in terms of its energy. And last subtopic before we move on to the question answer session, it would be the satellite motion in circular orbit. So we're going to talk about gravity and movement in circular motion and all.
All right. Okay. So before we start, we are actually going to, during this live session, we're actually going to go through the concept, the theories, and also we'll introduce the formulas. And lastly, we'll go through some PSPM questions. Okay. So let's go to the first subtopic, which is gravitational force and field strength. Okay. So the first thing you have to know in this subtopic is Newton's law of gravitation. So let's see what is the definition. Apakah definisi for Newton's law of gravitation? Okay, so it states that the force between any two objects is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Okay, so if like one look or one glance you think like, wow, what is this? Like sounds complicated, right? And like, should I hafal it or anything? Can I break it down for you? Okay. All right. So imagine you have two objects here, okay, with object M1 and also M2, okay. So whatever object, apa-apa object yang ada G-same that has mass has its own gravitational force, okay. So for example, I have my own gravitational force. Krishen, you have your own gravitational force. Okay. So now, how are we going to calculate the gravitational force? Okay. So in order to calculate, we have to know two things. Okay, ada dua perkara yang perlu diingat. Okay, so the first thing is the jisim kedua-dua object. You have to know the mass of both objects. So M1 and M2. Okay, let's say M1 is 3000 kg, M2 is 5000 kg. So you have to know. The second thing you have to know is the distance. Okay, jarak. So the distance that these are is the distance that separates both of them. Okay, and you have to remember that the distance you have to take it actually from the center. As you can see, it's the arrow is until the center. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so just to recap, we have two things, right? The first, the masses, M1, M2. The second thing, the jarak, the distance between them. Okay, after knowing this, how are we going to calculate? So it's very easy. We just multiply both the masses, M1, M2, we divide it by the distance. But we must not forget that the distance that we are dividing it with, we have to square it. Okay, so inilah formula dia. Okay, so this M1, as I said earlier, times M2. Okay, and then we divide it by R. But remember, I said you have to square, so that's the formula. Okay, then you'll be wondering, okay, then what is this G here? So this G is actually the gravitational constant. Okay, and value nilai for G ini adalah 6.67 times 10 to the power of negative 11. Okay, but don't worry, jangan risau. Like, do you have to hafal? No, it will be, the value will be in your list of formulas during PSPM. Okay? Okay, so now let's go back to the definition. Yeah, we see whether we understand. So they say that the force is directly proportional to the product of the masses. Okay, product of the masses is just like you times both the masses, right? So it's directly proportional. Okay, let's check. Okay, kalau F meningkat, M1 and M2 so will increase, right? So it shows that correct, it's directly proportional. Okay, and it's inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So let's see, if R decreases, kalau R menurun, okay, that means this value will be divided by value yang lebih kecil, smaller value. So it means the F will increase. So maksudnya kalau R menurun, F will increase, right? So betul lah, that means it's inversely proportional. Or if R meningkat, F will go and decrease. So also it's inversely proportional. So that's it for the formula for Newton's law of gravitation. Okay, so now let's look at an example of a PSPM question. Okay, so here they say, given the masses of the sun and the earth are 1.99 times 10 to the power of 30 kg and 5.98 times 10 to the power of 24 kg respectively. So you're required to calculate the gravitational force between them when their centers are 1.50 times 10 to the power of 11 meters apart. Okay, I'll just give you around 10 seconds to read this question and understand. You can try it on your own also. Okay? Okay, I think it's 10 seconds, right? All right.
Yeah,
so that's okay. What is questions one? Okay. So let's see. We have to cari apa gravitational force kan. So formula yang baru kita belajar just few seconds ago is this formula, right? So to calculate the gravitational force, we just have to use this formula kan. So senang dia. We just substitute the values. Okay, G. The value of G is a constant, right? So in the formula list that it will be in the formula. So it's 6.67 times 10 to the power of negative 11. Okay? And this M, the bigger M, okay, is the jisim yang lebih besar. So you compare the sun and the earth, which is bigger? Obviously the sun, right? So you substitute this value. And the smaller M is the earth's mass. So you substitute it and divide it by the distance, which is this. But don't forget to square it. So if you have substituted correctly, this is what you get. Okay, ini you akan dapat. Okay, so finally just tekan calculator, and this is what you get. So that is how you actually going to calculate the gravitational force. Okay, all right. Now we will move to the next one. Okay.
Okay, so now we have arrived in the second segment of this subtopic. So here we are posed with a question, right? Kita ada satu soalan, and that is the gravity on the moon is much lesser compared to on Earth, and why is that? So let's try to bring this question. So what is actually meant is that the force of gravity acting on a body. So let's say we're talking about me, right? So I weigh about 70 kilos, let's say 70 kilograms. Okay. So, and now we're talking about the gravitational pull on a mass of 70 gram on Earth and on the moon. Okay, so based on this, right, we are told that the pull on the moon is actually lesser than on Earth. So what is the reason for that? So first to answer that, we have to look at the equation that Joanna just introduced us to. So this equation right here was written about a few centuries back, and it explains about the magnitude of force in which gravity works at. Okay, so I have this rather, I have this random objects that I found in my home. Okay, so this on the right is a glass ball, right? And it's much more massive. Okay, I hope you can see it, right? This is much more massive. And we have this squashed piece of newspaper. And let's assume that this is Earth and this is the moon. Okay, and these two objects, they represent their values of mass, let's say. So in our question here, we are told that the gravitational pull on the moon is lesser. So given all the other values are constant, like the capital G, which is the universal gravitational constant, my mass, let's say the force is acting on my mass, I'm 70 kilos, that's constant. And then let's assume that the radius, okay, it's relatively the same. So the only thing changing in this equation between Earth and the moon is the mass of Earth and moon itself. So generally we know that the mass of the moon is less significant, right, than Earth. So if you want a precise value, it's like the mass of Earth is about 81 to 82 times the mass of the moon, right? It's that massive, right? The difference is that big. So with that said, right, if you were to put the values into the equation, Fg equals to capital G times m1, m2, right, the product of those divided by r square, we would find that the force of gravity on the moon is lesser because the force of gravity is directly proportional to the mass of the object. So that is all from me. Joanna,
So,
next
Krishen,
segment. Okay.
you're saying that okay, for example, this M1 is your mass, okay, and
Uh-huh.
this M2 is the mass of the moon, right? So because it's
Yeah,
smaller than L, is why the F value is smaller, right?
precisely.
Yes, all right,
That is
okay,
exactly what it means.
okay. So, Krishen, I have a question for you and also everyone watching. Okay,
Okay.
so if I were to throw an apple and a pizza
Uh-huh.
from the building, which one do you think will reach the ground first?
I'm thinking the pizza will fall first.
Okay, but why?
Faster than the apple. Because pizza's fast food.
So because the pizza is the fast food.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right. Although your answer was cheesy on the pizza, okay, but it's wrong. Okay. So if we neglect air resistance, okay, both will actually fall to the ground, will reach to the ground at the same time. Actually, it will fall at the same rate. Okay. But why? Kenapa? So if you want to understand that, let's move on to the next subtopic, which is gravitational field strength. Okay. So all of us, okay, kita sudah biasa dengan equation ni, right? F equals to ma. Force is the mass multiplied by acceleration. Okay, so if we just play around with the formula, we move it. Acceleration will be same as the force divided by its mass, right? Okay, and just now, the mass which I'm referring to here is written the gravitational force, kan? So I'm referring to that. So I just substitute that equation into the force, okay, as you can see, and I divide it by the mass. Okay, the mass here is referring to the mass of the apple or the dsame of the pizza, okay. So you can see here, if I divide them by the mass, okay, the mass will actually cancel off each other. Okay, so that means the final equation will only be gm over r squared. So that means the mass is not even included inside the
Yeah,
equation,
it's
kan?
independent of mass. Okay.
Yes, so it means that the mass will not influence it. But that's, of course, if we neglect the air resistance. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So it's not the
So,
pizza.
Yeah. So if they say someone that is very thin or someone is very fat falls down at the same time, both will falls
Mm,
down from the building, both will actually reach at the same time. Yeah.
okay.
Of course, neglecting the air resistance. Okay. So now we understand this is the formula for the acceleration gm over r square. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to a PSPM question. Okay, so it says here that a spherical asteroid has a radius of 12 times 10 to the power of 3 meter and a mass of 4 times 10 to the power of 15 kg. So they ask you to calculate the gravitational acceleration at the surface of the asteroid. Okay, so again, I'll just give you all around 10 seconds to just read this question and understand, okay? Maybe you can try it as well. Okay, I think that's about 10 seconds, right? All right.
Yeah, she should do the job.
Okay, so if we read properly, what they want us to carry is the gravitational acceleration. And again, we just baru belajar that equation, right? This is the formula, gm over r squared. So very easy, we just substitute again. The g will be a constant, okay? The m will be the mass of the asteroid, okay? And the radius will be this value. So if you substitute it correctly, ini yang you akan dapat. Okay, so the next step to do, just press your calculator. And this is what you will get. Okay, so hopefully all of y'all trying this also has gotten this value, all right? Okay, so we move on to the next one.
Okay, so now we are in the middle of the program. So we are here at subtopic 7.2, which is basically gravitational potential energy. Okay, so now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna talk about gravity in terms of energy. Okay, so because it's just like an essential part of physics to think of any literally any physical phenomena in terms of energy. So this is not unusual. So let's explore what is gravitational potential energy. So first, let's have a look at the definition. So okay, that's like really long and long-winded over there. So essentially, what it says is that gravitational potential energy, right? It's the work done by gravity, right? The force of gravity to pull an object from infinity to its center, right? So that is gravitational potential energy. So it is the work done to pull it.
Mm-hmm.
So I doubt that is any much clearer. So we will proceed to
Mm-hmm.
elaborate more on that. So
So
can we
just
have
to
a look
confirm,
at
we
sorry.
pull, we just have to bring this mass from infinity to
Yeah,
a
from
point, is it?
infinity to a certain point. So that
All
work done is
right. Okay.
gravitational potential energy.
All right. Okay.
Let's have a look at the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so since like Form 4, Form 5, or probably some of you even earlier, you guys were introduced to a equation for potential energy, which is U or E, right? Either one doesn't really matter. So U equals to mgh. So you guys probably been using this like for a really long time, right? And you may ask like, okay, probably some of you actually done some PSPM questions and you would
Mm-hmm.
have seen the formula sheet and you would see that the potential energy is equated to some weird, there's G, there's M and all, right?
Yeah.
So there's R included. So you may wonder what's the reason. So
Mm-hmm.
why is the old equation of mgh not used? So in our situation here, we substitute mgh, yeah, we turn mgh into mgr, substitute h to r, right? If you understand, it's just like telling height is like now radius from a center.
Okay.
So our equation of mgh is about potential energy within a short range of height. So usually we are given like a short height and then we like increases like by 10 meters, like 10 meters
Mm-hmm.
up a stairs, like small distances. So those days when we were dealing with small distances, right, high that are small, the gravitational field strength. Okay, I hope you guys are following. The gravitational field strength, which is G, is actually
Mm-hmm.
constant at small distances.
Okay.
But in this chapter, dalam tajuk ini, right, gravity, we are talking about really massive objects, right? Astronomical objects and planets at great distance, right? Some are light years away, some are like millions of kilometers away. Okay, so at this changing distances, right, the g is constantly changing. So we substitute g into our old formula. So our old formula was mgh. Now we substitute g with the varying gravitational field strength. So right there, you can see Joanna is shown in the slide. So we substituted g, and it's just simple algebra, right? You move about, and you would come up with something. So you cancel r over there, and you have g equals potential energy equals to g times product of masses divided by the radius. And some of you are like thinking, okay, yeah, there's something fishy there. I did not see that in the formula sheet. So by right, the equation we are given in our syllabus is negative gmmr. So over r, right? So there is a negative sign in front. So
Okay.
some of you, yeah. So there's something weird, right?
Yeah.
Negative sign.
Um, so Krishen, just to confirm, so if it's
Uh-huh.
just on the surface of the Earth, we can use the old formula, which is mgh, and because the object is
Yeah,
equal to
varying
zero,
radius.
that's why you have to use this new equation, right?
Exactly, because it's varying gravitational field strength.
Okay.
It's
And I'm
changing.
curious, why do we have to add the negative sign actually?
Okay, why we have to add the negative sign? So
Mm-hmm.
the reason why we do that is actually a conceptualized idea, right? It's based on concepts only. So for those of you who just want to just do your PSPM and then just like end gravity forever, right? You guys just use negative GMMR, right? Don't bother about this. But for those who are actually curious to know why it is negative, I will explain in the next slide. Okay, it's just a brief like explanation to why it's negative. So as you can see the diagram on the left, so diagram on the left is a daily scenario. So we have probably dealt with this scenario like in school, right? So we have like a watermelon and it's like going higher grounds, right? It's getting higher and higher. So as the height increases, the potential energy also increases. And we have already established that. Maknanya dari bangku sekolah, like since even those days, like hundreds of years ago, right? We already established that as we increase height, potential energy must increase. So the problem with our times product of mass over r without the negative sign, okay, there's some problem with that. So I'll actually explain that. So can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, you can see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an equation that is without the negative sign. So if you look over here, there is no negative sign. Okay, it's potential energy equals to G product of mass over R. So tak ada tanda negative di depan. Okay, so this is wrong, guys. So why is this wrong? Why do we put a negative in front? So let's look at the diagram on the right. So we have realized in this diagram, okay, so let's look at the satellite closest to Earth, okay. So the satellite closest to Earth, based on this equation, so the distance r, right, r, the distance from the center of Earth to the satellite is really small. So if the denominator is small, right? So it's basically like dry maths here. So if the denominator is small, the potential energy is going to be decreasing, right? Sorry, the potential energy is going to be high because the denominator is small. Okay. And then let's look at the second satellite. You guys following? Joanna, you following?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we have the second satellite, which is further away. Okay. Do you mind pointing to the second satellite?
Sure.
Yeah, that one. So that satellite is further away. So now the radius is bigger, right? It's further away. So now we put in a really big value there. So kalau denominator di sini besar kan, the potential energy will decrease. So I hope you guys realize there is a problem here
Yeah.
because in the picture on the left, As we go higher and higher and higher, the potential energy is increasing. But in the diagram on the right, as we go higher and higher, due to the change in gravitational field strength, the potential energy is actually decreasing. And that is a problem that scientists faced long ago. And they actually solved it, right? They just solved it with a very
Yeah,
simple
because
way.
this value is supposed to be higher, right? Because it's
Yeah, the
going from
value, because it's going higher and higher. So the potential energy should actually be higher than the lower one. Okay? So what scientists did is they just solved the problem. Okay, they solved the problem by actually just putting a negative sign in front. Okay, so they just put a negative sign in front. So what that does is, allow me to show you with numbers. So right, so this is the values of the equation without a negative sign. So nampak kan, so we see that the satellite closer to earth has about 100 joules of potential energy. So these values are like made up. And then as you go further, it is 2, which is lesser. So that's like a problem. So all scientists did was just put a negative sign in front. So as you can see, now 100 has become negative 100, and 2 has become negative 2. So 100, which is a big number, you put a negative in front, it becomes a small number. So you realize that now it is same as our logic dulu masa bangku sekolah, right? Is the same, like I same idea. So if you like go higher and higher, the potential energy should increase. So it
yeah.
just
All right.
increases like in terms like this. So that is all from
Now,
me.
this
Now,
value is bigger,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So answer. Okay.
exactly.
All right. Okay. So there's a question.
Okay, okay, yeah. So let's try a PSPM question here. So calculate the gravitational potential energy and field strength of a spaceship. So it has mass of 1,300 kilograms at a height 3 times the radius of Earth from the surface. Okay, let's stop right there. Okay, everyone just stop right there. So bahagian matrikulasi thinks like it's okay, but they like to do this. Okay, so what they like to do always is that they would give you the distance from the surface, right? They won't give you the distance from the center just like that, because dalam equation kita kan, like the one that Joanna explained and all those equations, the distance between objects must always, right, be
Yeah.
from center to center. Okay, so over here, the distance r is actually 4 Earth radius. One is the center of Earth to its surface, and the other three is the height from the surface. So now we are given the values of the radius, the mass, and universal gravitational constant. You can find that in the like the front page of formula sheet. So now let's proceed to do the question. So we have our equation. Gravitational potential energy equivalents to negative g times the product of mass divided by r. So all you do now is you input the values very carefully, right? This chapter on energy and gravity is not so complicating. You just have to be careful. So you input the values very carefully and just tekan calculator, and you will just get the answer. There is no other way of getting this wrong. Okay, it's simple.
Okay. So
So
that's why the 4 here, right? Because we 3 times and also plus the radius of the earth.
yeah, exactly. It's from the center. So we have
Okay.
like, so if we have like Earth, right? It's from the center. There's one radius, and then there's like 3 times from the surface. So it's like 4 in total.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So this is what we
So
got.
this is our final value for potential energy. So you guys must note over here, right? To all the audience out there. So note that gravitational potential energy will always be negative when we're talking about in this chapter gravity. So selalunya nilai ataupun jawapan akhir untuk soalan gravity about energy will always be negative, right? So we established that. Don't get confused. So the question requirement, next one. Hope I'm not like too fast or anything. So we have gravitational field strength. So they asked us to find that. Honestly, the questions can't get easier, but of course we have to like try it. So gravitational field strength. Joanna introduced us to one wonderful, simple equation. A equals to capital G times m over r square. So what you do here is just input the values, and you must note that m is the biggest mass. So we're talking about Earth over here. You jangan main letak the strength of sorry, don't go put the mass of spaceship there. Okay,
Yeah.
because we're talking about the field strength of Earth, right, on the object.
Because earlier we said the mass will not influence, right? So we just only
Ah,
take
yeah,
that.
exactly. We're talking, yeah, okay. That's exactly.
Yes. This is what you.
So you just input the
Okay.
values carefully, and you note that the radius is a square. Okay, many
Mm,
students won't square that. So make sure it's 4. Okay, you guys look down there where Joanna's pointing. Make sure it's 4 times 6.4 to the power of 10 to the power of 6. Then you square
mm.
it, right? Make sure it's the radius square. You don't leave the 4 outside and all, careless
Yeah.
mistake.
All together square.
All together. So that is all.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next subtopic, which is satellite motion in a circular orbit. Okay. So the first thing we must first understand, okay, what is actually a satellite? Okay, so in very simple terms, in very simple words, it means any body placed in orbit around the Earth. Okay, so apa-apa badan yang berputar mengelilingi bumi. Okay, actually not necessarily the Earth. It can be orbiting around the Sun, the planet. But here, let us just focus on the Earth. Okay,
Mm.
so in this chapter, this satellite motion in a circular orbit is closely related to chapter 6, which is circular motion. Okay, so let's see how is it related. Okay, but first, ask yourself a question. Why do you think that the satellite has to constantly orbit? Like, why it has to constantly mengelilingi the bumi? Why cannot just like duduk diam here? Like, why it has to like move?
God's will.
Okay, so I'll tell you why. So, as you can see, right, if you learn in chapter 6, there is a force that is directed towards the center, right? And that force is known as centripetal force, kan? Okay, so in this case, if you look at the one which is attracting the satellite is actually what? The gravitational force, which means you can think about it as the centripetal force is the same as the gravitational force. Okay, now just imagine if the satellite stops moving, like just stays there stationary. So that centripetal force will go and attract it and it will crash on the earth, right? So we of course we don't want that to happen, kan? So that is why the satellite has to constantly undergo circular motion. It has to constantly orbit around the earth like this. So it has to have its own velocity, its own omega, okay, in order for it to balance that centripetal force. Okay? So to
Yeah.
balance that force, we have to keep moving. Alright. Okay, now okay, kita sudah tahu lah, okay, why it has to keep moving, blah blah blah. How about how fast it has to move? Okay, the speed. Okay. So as we mentioned earlier, the centripetal force, we can think of it as the gravitational force, right? Okay, of the earth. Okay. So we know in chapter 6 or just now earlier that F equals to MA. But here is special. We add a C because in chapter 6 we always talk about centripetal, right? So it's MAC, FC, we add a C, okay? And this FC, it's the same as the FG, right? Okay, and one more thing. This FG, what is the formula again? Just now I mentioned GMM over R square, right? So you can equate it like that. Okay. And this is MA. So this A in chapter 6 you've learned, it can be V square over R. So you make this equation. Okay. Now, what we want to find? Like berapa laju the satellite has to orbit, right? How fast it can go. So it means we have to find the velocity of the satellite. So let's just do some maths here. Okay. Okay, so this is the equation. Now, our main goal is we want to find out what is the velocity. So let's do some maths, all right? So first thing, bring the R over there. This R at the bottom, bring it that side. Okay, so it will cancel off each other, right? Okay, like this. And then this M over here, we'll move it here as well. So it will also cancel off each other.
Okay.
So you end up with this equation. And what is your main goal? You want to find out the speed, like berapa laju it has to move, kan? So just square root the whole equation. And isn't this that famous equation that always comes out in the PSPM book or the list of formulas?
Right.
This V equals square root GM over R. So now you know where it actually comes from. Okay, it's not like magically like suddenly V equals gm or r, right? So that's how we
Yeah.
actually calculate the velocity of the satellite, like how fast it's going. Okay, all right. So now we talk about escape velocity.
Okay. Um,
Okay,
I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I was just trouble with the connectivity.
right.
Um,
Okay.
so now we are in the last presentation actually for me. So we'll be talking about the escape velocity. So what is escape velocity, right? Like, what's the
Mm-hmm.
concept? What's the idea of it?
Mm-hmm. Krishen?
Oh, I think something just happened to Krishen's network connection. Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Wait, just let me get him. Can't hear him right now.
Okay. Joanna, are
Yeah,
you going to continue for Krishen?
yeah, okay, I think can. Okay,
Okay.
so
Thanks,
what do
Joanna.
you understand by escape velocity? So if we look at this definition, okay, the definition, it states that it's the minimum velocity an object must have in order to escape the gravitational field of the Earth. So you was thinking like, okay, what does it mean? Okay, now just imagine like I have a ball, okay, I have a ball, and I'm throwing that ball with enough initial speed, right? Okay, that speed actually is high enough to escape the gravitational field. So that means that ball will actually just fly and it won't actually come back because it's already
Okay.
escaped the
I'm so
gravitational field.
sorry. I'm so
Okay,
sorry. My
okay,
internet just like went off.
okay.
Okay.
This I think
So
you can
you have explained it.
yeah, just started. You can do it. Don't worry.
Okay. So gravitation escape velocity. The idea comes from the principle of conservation of energy.
Mhm.
Okay. So can we have a look at the
Yeah.
equation? Okay. So we have understood before this, right, that
Mhm.
that gravitational potential energy is a work done, right? It is a work
Yeah.
done that moves like a mass from infinity to a certain distance. Okay, it moves, right? That's it's a work done there.
Right.
So now let's think. So work done is energy, right? You guys know
Mhm.
that. So work done is energy, and so when we talk in terms of energy, we're talking in terms of work done. So let's understand this like intuitive and conceptually. So Earth is pulling object with a certain like energy, right? We're calling that as like a potential energy. So it's holding us with that potential energy. So now to counteract that energy, right? We're gonna give our body, whatever body under the influence of gravity, we're gonna give that body a certain energy, okay? And that is kinetic energy. So what we're going to do is we have a certain amount of potential energy, and we give a body certain kinetic energy, so it can break through the pull of gravity, so it can escape. So that is
Mhm.
the concept in terms of principle of conservation of energy.
All right.
So as you can see in Joanna's slide over here, right? There's we have equated the kinetic energy to the potential energy.
Mhm.
So we got half mv squared divided by g with the product of masses over r.
Mhm.
So what we're doing here after this is just algebra, right? We're going to move values about. So when we move our values about and we get our velocity, right? If you note
Yes.
our formula sheet, there's a
Mhm.
VE in front. That means
Mhm.
we are talking about not just general velocity,
Mhm.
but escape velocity particularly. Okay?
So
So
we could be confused, right? Like with the velocity formula just
yeah,
now. Yeah. Okay.
don't be confused with the normal velocity. So this escape velocity is exclusive and it has its own equation. So
Okay.
this equation is VE equals to the square root of 2gm over r. And so for any given mass, and a specific distance from the center, right? There's a specific distance and a specific mass. It's going to have a specific velocity to escape its gravity. So can we go on to like
Yes.
yeah, we have a question, right? So I'll explain it
Yeah.
like this. So let's say our question here says to calculate the escape velocity of Earth given the mass and Earth's radius as, yeah, we got a value there, 6.37 times 10 to the power of 6, and our capital G with a certain value.
Okay.
So be careful for this question. Take the formula for escape velocity, not velocity. So VE. So V equals to square root 2gm over r. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just going to input these values. So input the G, right? Then we put on the M and then the R. So we're talking about R, right? The value of R Earth's radius. So that means we're talking about the escape velocity on the surface. So maknanya kan, right? We're talking about Earth here, right? So on our surface, we have a specific amount of escape velocity. So I may be sitting in Puchong and you may be sitting in Johor or whatever. As long as we are in the same like height on the ground, same level, all of us, all we need to do is reach that one specific velocity. So if you reach this velocity, right, we can literally fly into space if you just aim it vertically. So what's the value? So if we calculate, we get 11.17 times 10 to the power of 3 meter per second. So this is actually like a constant on the surface of Earth, right? It's a constant. And it's actually really, really, really fast, right? That's like 30 times the speed of sound. So basically,
Right. So
what I'm saying,
yeah, go ahead.
okay, so basically what I'm saying, right, is if I put Joanna in a spaceship, okay, I put in a spaceship, and then I put a force and get her moving at a certain velocity, which is 11.17 times 10 to the power of 3 meter per second. If I get Joanna in the spaceship moving at that velocity, she will just fly into space.
Oh, so it means I will escape the Earth, is it?
Yeah, you will
Because the
escape
Earth.
Earth's gravitational pull.
Okay, sounds like a good idea. All right. So okay, move on to okay. So the last part actually is the period of a satellite motion. So again, it's very you just have to do some maths again. So we know that V equals to R omega, right? And in chapter 6, circular motion again, or in chapter 8, the omega is equivalent to actually 2 pi over T. Okay. So I'm just taking this 2 pi over T and substituting it into here. I'm replacing the omega with this. Okay. And period is what? It's T, right? So it means I have to find T. So I just do some math and finally I'll get this equation. This is the period of the satellite motion. Okay, so just some fun fact. So do you know about the ISS, the International Space Station?
Yes.
Yeah, so like when most of the astronauts go into outer space, they go to this ISS, right? Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the satellite motion in a circular orbit has to constantly orbit around the Earth, right? So it means that ISS, the International Space Station, it also has to constantly orbit around the Earth. Okay, so it actually orbits around the Earth every 90 minutes. Okay, so if one time you orbit around the Earth, you can actually see the sunset and the sunrise, right? So if you orbit every 90 minutes in a day, we have around 1,440 minutes, right? Okay, if we divide it by 90, if we get 16, it means that the International Space Station actually orbits 16 times in a day. Okay, so it means that if you're staying there, you can actually see the sunset and sunrise for 16 times in a day.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like really fast, right? It's spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
Earth
it
like
has to
takes
be
like 24
every 90
hours, like
minutes. Yeah.
90
So
minutes.
it's quite
Okay.
cool. Like you go there, you can actually like in a day it's like 16 times, you know? Yeah. Okay. So this will be the formula to actually calculate the period easily. All right. Next, let's look at a question. Okay. So a satellite wishes to orbit the Earth at a height of 100 kilometer from the surface of the Earth. Okay. So
Okay.
firstly, determine the speed. of the satellite, right? Okay. Second, the gravitational field strength of Earth on the satellite. And lastly, the period of the satellite. Okay, so let us look at the first question. So the speed. Okay, so the speed is the same as v, right? As I mentioned earlier, we derived the
Mhm.
equation and all. So the same thing. We just have to substitute the values. Okay, the g, the gravitational constant, is this value. This m is actually the mass of the Earth. Okay, so don't worry, it'll be given actually, and the r is actually the radius. All right. So now I just want to say, okay, you'll be wondering if only the radius, then like kenapa? Why do you have to add this value? Okay, this value. So again, sometimes the question like to trick you. They said, right, the satellite actually orbits at a height of 100 kilometer from the surface of the Earth. Okay,
Mhm.
now just imagine this is the Earth, all right? Okay, and this is the satellite that is orbiting, okay? Now you want to, so it's orbiting at a height of 100 kilometer, right? So it's the same as this, right? 100,000 meter, right? Okay. So the total distance won't be only the Earth's radius. It has to be the radius plus with the height, the altitude at which is it. That means the tinggi of the satellite from the surface of the Earth, and that will be your R. Okay. So then the next step, you just use your calculator and you should be able to get this answer. Okay. So the second one, Krishen.
Okay, second one. So here we have the gravitational field strength of Earth on the satellite. So we have Earth pulling on the satellite, and we are finding the gravitational field strength of that. So we have the equation for gravitational field strength, which is A. Can we see that? Yeah, A equals to gm over r squared. So what we're going to be doing here is we're just going to be putting in the values. So we got g, right, the constant, and we're like repeating the same thing. So it's like g, the constant, and then the mass of Earth, and divided by the distance again. Like Joanna said, include the 100 kilometers inside, and you got to square that. Okay, remember you got to square that. So then you would get a certain gravitational field strength. In this case, it's 9.47. Okay,
Mhm.
so you would
So
realize, huh?
yeah, okay, I just realized. So if it's on the surface of the Earth, right, the
Yeah.
gravitational field strength is actually 9.81, right? It's a constant, and then it's only 9.47, which is lesser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
lesser.
mhm.
It's lesser
So
because we are moving away, further away
mm,
from the center of Earth, right? Because the mass is like denser in the center, so we are moving
yeah,
further and further away, and it weakens over distance. So the
yeah.
gravitational field strength is so lesser than 9.81.
So
Also,
because yeah, okay. Yeah.
also, I want to point out something important. So
Mhm.
sometimes, right? So here we are like 100 kilometers off the surface of Earth. Some questions they would just give you on the surface itself, right?
Mhm.
And we all know the value is like 9.81, right?
9.81.
We all know the
Yeah.
value, but you can't just put the value as 9.81, unfortunately.
Mhm.
You have to recalculate using this formula. So with the radius of Earth to the surface, and that's your distance, and gm divided by that square, and
Mhm.
then you get a 9.81.
All right. So we just have to use back this equation, right, to calculate.
Ah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, the last one we ask you to calculate the period of the satellite. So it's the same. The equation we know this is already in the formula sheet, right? So it's 2 pi square root r cube over gm. So again, we just substitute, okay? And don't forget, the r is inclusive of the 100 kilometer as well. And finally, you should be able to get this value. Or you can also give the answer in actually hours. Okay, so
Hmm.
if you realize here, it's 1.44 hours, right? So it just shows you or it tells you that the satellite needs 1.44 hours to completely make a complete like one whole orbit around the
Yeah.
Earth to complete the Earth. That's what it said. Okay,
Hmm.
so we've done this question.
Yeah.
So that will be it from us.
So shall we do the question and answer session?
Yeah, of
Yes.
course. I think you guys have already finished with your presentation, and I could see Sir Newton at almost every piece of your slide. Okay, and so
Hmm.
going into our first question. Sir, oh sir, he's calling you sir, Krishen. He's calling you
Arindra,
sir.
yes.
Okay.
Why is
Why
gravity?
does gravity exist? Okay,
I think this is
so
a
why
hard question.
okay, so why gravity exists? Actually, for gravity to exist, all that you need is mass, right? Literally
Yes.
mass, right? Everything has gravity if it has mass. So
Yes.
if Joanna has a certain mass, right, she has gravity. But if you just don't see it because it's like really small, because
Yeah.
Joanna is like big size, right? And the
Okay.
gravity is small. That's all.
Yeah, I think it has something to do about Sir Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. If we
Yeah,
really go
because
Yeah.
into
mass bends space time, and that causes
Mm.
gravity, fabric of space
yeah.
and all. Okay, irrelevant, but okay.
Okay. So I'm going to the next questions. Let me check. Oh no, fast
No.
food. Pizza, your pizza. Pizza. There's a nice
Really.
joke over there. Okay. Let me see. Okay, a question from Dia. I have a question. What if they don't give the radius of Earth, but we memorize it ourselves? Can we substitute that?
Yeah, actually we can, right? Because the radius of the Earth is actually a constant value, right?
Yeah, I think it's standardized.
It's a standardized value.
But
Yeah.
So,
but
but
it's usually given.
yeah, it's usually like
Mhm.
stated below the question.
Yeah, it's usually given.
Mm.
Okay, so the next question, I think is from KMS Hari. Why is
Hari.
H in U is equal to MGH is the same as R?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so y is height same as r. So in the
Okay.
equation, r is literally what r is the center
Mhm.
of the mass to whatever a center of another mass.
The
So
larger
it is
distance.
height. Yeah, it's literally height. It's the same thing. It's just that we are denoting it with different alphabet. Yeah, it's just concept.
Hmm. So a compliment from Avindra. That's a very intriguing explanation. A compliment to Joanna and Christian.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm. Let me see. Another question from Harry. Do all objects require the same escape velocity on the same planet? I don't think so.
Yeah. So because on Earth
Okay,
it's right, it's 11.2 kilometer per second. So
okay.
on Earth, if you have that much velocity, the initial velocity, you can escape the gravitational force here.
First of all, what is velocity? Okay, so so I assume it's velocity. Yeah, so
Mhm.
since the equation includes the mass of the planet and the mass of planet changes, so then the escape velocity should also change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheesy. Christian is shining like the sun. Okay, I think Christian is brighter than the sun.
Wow.
Okay,
Okay.
your guess is from KMS, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Why the radius is not included from the center for question such as speed?
Oh, okay. Yes, because earlier I mentioned that whenever we take the R value, we have to take from the center, right? Okay, but why in
Mhm.
that question we didn't? Because that question it's satellite, right? So the radius of the satellite is actually a small value. It is actually insignificant. So even if we include it, it actually won't affect much the value. So that is why we don't include. Okay, but just say I have a bigger like bodies, like just say the sun and the earth or the moon and the earth, then I have to include because that their radius is actually quite a big value. Yeah. But
Hmm.
only when you have to include, they will actually like give the radius in the question itself. So,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that would be it, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, we've got Andrew with
So
us.
when we
Andrew was here yesterday. When we exit escape velocity, we will escape from the gravitational
uh-huh.
field of Earth in which
Yeah.
direction? For the
Okay,
direction we move.
okay.
Okay.
That's a really good question actually. We would actually accelerate. We would go in the same direction as we started to accelerate. So our force is a vector, right? So it has a direction. So let's say you have a rocket. It has like a direction. We shoot it exactly 90 degrees to the ground. We're going to go at that velocity, 90 degrees. right?
Yeah.
But then probably you ask this question because you've probably seen, I don't know, some spaceship enter orbit at a curve. That's because they're entering orbit. So that's why they're going at a curve. So otherwise you're just going to go up straight.
Okay.
Okay, I hope I answered.
Okay.
Why
So, a
would
question from Nabila: why the unit of gravitational field strength is ms square? I don't think it's ms square. Is
Yeah.
It's negative square.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
negative. It's -2.
Yeah. It's MS 92.
Okay, so why is the unit is ms -2?
So
Okay.
because yeah,
Hey,
gravitational
go
field
ahead, go
strength
ahead, go ahead.
is actually like the same as the gravitational acceleration, like how fast the object moves. So we know that the for unit for acceleration is ms -2, right? So that is why in gravitational field strength the unit will also be ms -square.
Mm,
Okay.
nice, nice.
Okay,
Then we
so
also
for
know that
Priya,
that both radius from Earth and satellite and substitute only the Earth's
only the
radius.
Earth's
Substitute only
radius.
Earth's radius. Okay, so if Joanna actually answered this question, so if we are going to include the radius of the satellite, so the satellite is going to be massive, right? So it's going to be like so massive that the radius is actually a big value enough for us to take into account in our calculation. So biasanya satellite is like asteroids and meteors or whatever, right? This astronomical bodies they are very small relative to the size of Earth that we are talking about. So since they're like really small, first of all, the question won't give you the value of their radius, and also you don't need to do it because it wouldn't affect the calculation much.
Yeah.
But kalau diorang bagi, masukkan. You just add it. If they don't, you don't bother finding it. Anyway, it's impossible to find without any other values given.
All right. Okay, so next we've got a question from Danish. Why does the altitude h is not from the it's not just from the surface of the satellite, but it's from the center of the satellite as well?
Um, why it's not from the surface and from the center?
What on in do you want? Okay, Joanna, go ahead.
No, I mean, what he's saying is that when we include
Ah,
the distance, we don't take it from the surface, we actually take it from the center, right? So why is that?
altitude. So, are you meaning like gravitational potential energy?
Hmm.
I hope he is because uh, what happens to John? Okay. Do you mind if I go ahead?
Yeah, sure, sure. I
Okay.
think
So why do we use h from the surface? Okay. Oh, okay. Why does h not from the surface of the satellite? So in when we're talking about energy, potential energy, I think you mean that locally, right? When you're talking about like short distances, we take from the surface of the Earth. So I hope your like physics teachers have told you about reference points. So when we're talking about literally anything in physics, right? Literally anything in physics is based on reference point. So when we talk about local potential energy, like in the room at different heights, right? It's going our reference point is from the surface, right? And when we're talking about distance between planets, we take from the center. And I want you to know that these reference points are done based they are like interwoven in the equations itself. Okay, so they are in the equation itself. The scientists have thought about it when they wrote it. So the reference point is from the center when we talk about large distances because it's taken from the center of the mass. It's where the mass
yeah,
is concentrated.
it's like from the formula itself, they told us to
Yeah,
use.
exactly. They
Okay, so
included
followed by the
such
next
a
question from Shizi again. Nothing that's
okay.
related to the PSPN, but
Does air have gravity influence? Does air have gravity influence?
Does air have gravity influence? Yeah, it does,
Because
but
air
we're not
has also
going to be bothered.
mass.
I think
But
she means air resistance, right? How
yeah,
it
maybe.
affects.
I mean, it has like certain amount of air like has mass, right? But maybe it's like it's not like significant enough. So it's like it's not
Hmm.
strong or additional
so
influence,
the
right?
answer
So at all cases, basically, we don't include air resistance.
Hmm.
Creak, creak. Velocity and which other system of similar escape
The fastest escape.
okay, so the planet's really small radius in very large mass.
Very large mass. What can be the fastest escape velocity? In which other system?
And which other system have similar escape velocity?
But we actually have to calculate it based on the
Yeah.
gravity and the radius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if another system has same escape velocity, it means that mathematically it has the same value for v. So the only way you can
Yeah.
find out is you equate like two different masses and you find what's the radius and all. If that makes sense. That's actually a good question.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? Did we answer her?
Any other question? That's John.
Okay, but anyway, this is a good question.
Okay.
Okay, why is space-time warped by gravity?
Oh,
That's okay. So that is Einstein's theory of relativity. It talks
yeah.
about mass bending space-time, which honestly, it's a lot of mass that we don't even know how to think of.
Yeah. It's actually quite different with what we are learning today, right? With
Yeah,
Newton's one.
it's really different. Because like further away you go from the sun or really close you go to the sun, right? The concept, you see Newton's law, the FG, right, that Joanna introduced, it no longer works actually, right? So when you talk about like, if you talk about Venus, which is like so close to the sun, its orbit is actually constantly fluctuating and changing, right? So then Einstein came along, introduces this big game-changing equations.
Oh, so that's an additional info. But I think every planet they possess a gravitational force, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they kind of hold the structure of the galaxy and the universe.
Yeah.
So Amira, regarding the constant mass, you
Finally.
have to use mass given in the question. If not in the question, then use the standardized one.
The constant mass is in the mass of the Earth, is it?
Yeah, I probably think so.
Because if the mass
Or
of the
if it's
Earth,
not
then
clear,
if it's not
or
given, then use the standardized one.
I reckon Amira can make herself clear later in the comment.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because if
so
you're
we'll
talking about the mass of the Earth, that will be constant, and then the value will be given in the question itself.
mm-hmm. So Angel, what if we are not on the surface of the Earth but under the sea? Then what happens to the gravitational field on Earth's radius of
Oh,
Earth? But sea is still the surface, I suppose.
that's a different aspect totally. Now, this Joanna actually
Yeah,
wanted to
actually,
include this in the slides.
Oh,
Yeah, she wanted to talk
there is
about
a
it.
graph. Yeah, okay. So that graph is basically when, like, just say we are at the center of the Earth, right? Okay, and the radius is increasing, but that the R value is actually lesser than the radius of the Earth. The gravitational force will actually like increase. That means like the more center we are, actually it's the lesser actually the force. And when we are on the surface, it's exactly 9.81. So as we go further, the graph will kind of like drop. So because as we're going further, it will be lesser, right? The gravitational force.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think for your
It,
question, if it's below radius, it will be lesser actually. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Angel,
even though
this question is actually old syllabus,
Yeah.
and also just if you want to know for information, as Joanna said, the gravitational field strength is going to decrease as we go into Earth. So right, if our radius is
Yeah.
going like negative inside Earth, it's going to decrease. And if you want to ask why, is actually because if we go inside Earth, right, you must include that there is mass above your head, right? There is Earth actually above your head, and the mass above is going to act as another force of gravity pulling you upwards. So it's going to like decrease in the net force.
okay, so that will be it. And from Nabil, What is the best way to know deeply its concept to answer the question?
Deeply its concept. So I think this chapter, most of the questions is based on like the concept and also the formulas, right?
Yeah, I think chapter 7 is quite straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John even said it's very easy.
Yeah,
yeah.
but actually we include chapter 7 as part of our presentation is because chapter 7 is included in our PSPM. So actually the
Yeah.
same goes to other subjects. All the topics that we're trying to discuss are those topics that are included in the PSPM. Yeah. Oh, Kishen. You are a Christian and there's a Kishen. Well explained, Joanna and Christian. Good
So,
explanation. Thank you. Good luck for PSPM.
thank you, thank you.
So the rest will be like
Thank you.
compliments, good explanation.
Okay, thank
Thank you.
you.
And from Yorgos, thank you guys. And 9.81, same, I think. Also, there's a reply from our audience to the question above.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You're
Retina,
welcome.
you
Hope
guys
you
did
guys
very
understand.
well. Yeah, I think they understood well.
Thank you, thank you.
Roshan, thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, Roshan, you're going to present after this.
Right.
It's from Hari,
You're welcome,
okay, from
guys.
Angel, from Danish, from Christina, and from a lot of them as well. And since
Mm-hmm.
we're running out of time, so we're going to just end our physics
Yeah,
call
yeah.
session today. So,
All right.
um, I would like to bid my thanks, my appreciation to Krishen and Joanna for putting so much effort in the slides and also how you guys made your presentation to be creative. Like you create a conversation between each other that was really amazing, absolutely a creative one. So hopefully the audience that we have today, like the matriculation students from KMS or from other colleges can learn something from Krishen and Joanna. So after all, thank you
Alright.
to Thank you again to
All right.
Roshan. To Christian, not Roshan. Oh my goodness, I messed
That's
all up.
tomorrow.
Yeah, Roshan is coming up next later. Thanks, Christian, and thanks, Joanna, and also thanks
Thank
for
you,
those
John.
that
Also,
left.
everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you very
very
much,
much.
everyone.
Okay, so bye, Christian and Joanna.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so guys, we're going to continue with accounting after this, and we already have our accounting power leaders right here. So for our accounting class session, we're going to start right now until 9:45 or 9:50 since we delay a bit for physics due to some questions that we have just now. So for accounting class session, we're going to have Carissa, Faizal, and Shuhada with us. So now I'm going to have them inside our stream. So they're going to explain to you the things that they're going to share. And if you have any questions, of course, you can just ask us in the Q&A session later. Okay. Okay, so this will be Carissa, Shuhada, and Faizal. So the time is yours, Carissa, Shuhada, and Faizal.
All right. Hi.
Hi.
Um. Okay. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for you guys because for joining us today for our smart revision. Today me, Khairunnisa, and then Faizal and Shuhada, we will represent accounts bar leaders. So for today we will do a revision for chapter 6, which is accounting for cash. Reason being for choosing this topic is because this topic is one of the I won't say it's the easiest, but this topic will helps you a lot in terms of gaining marks in PSPM. So okay, let's get started. Today we have three content. The first one is definition of cash. The second one is cash book and bank statement. And the last one is bank reconciliation. Also, before we end our session for today, we will show you guys an example on how to answer based on PSPM question, like very similar. I won't say it's the exact question that will come up for PSPM, but it's the same format. Okay, Shuhada, can you explain to us?
Okay, what is the definition of cash. Cash is the most liquid assets, and cash includes coins, currency, checks, money order, checking or current accounts, savings accounts, and lastly, deposits in bank accounts. And there are two internal control for cash, which is first cash receipts and second cash payments or disbursement. So next, Faizal will explain to you about the cash book and bank statement.
Faizal, is there something wrong with Faizal's line? I think.
Yeah. So I will just continue.
I think it's probably good. So can Carissa or Shuhada continue for him?
Okay, I continue for Faizal. Okay. So cash book is
Okay,
first record the receipt of cash and cash payment, and able to detect the accuracy of the flow of cash and show cash balance on hand and at bank. So this is examples of cash book. So just as you guys know lah kan. And then
Okay, for this one, we got two columns, which is the first column is for cash and the second column is for the bank. The difference between the first cash book and the second cash book is that this one got three columns. There's an additional column for discount. So you can proceed for bank statement. Oh, Faizal is still not here, then it's okay. Joanna, you want to continue?
Okay, so bank statement shows the sum received by the bank, show the amount paid by the bank on his behalf and bank charges, compares between the details of bank statement with cash book or bank account, detect any mistakes by the bank or by business, and detect fraud, detect why the balance in the bank statement is not the same with the cash book.
So basically, this is just the definition and the function. We won't go deeply for this part since it won't be asked in our PSPM. It's just a theory.
Yep.
This is the example of bank statement. You can see there is credit and debit side, also the balance. For this one, cash book and bank statement is basically contra for each other. Okay, for example, if we deposit some amounts in our bank, we will debit it in our cash book, but it will be contra for our bank statement, which is we put it in our credit side.
Yeah.
Alright, this is the general example for bank statement. And then we can go to bank reconciliation.
Okay, bank reconciliation is to reconcile and explain any difference between the balance in the cash book, which is cash receipt journal, and cash payment journal, and the bank statement. So the purpose why we need to do the bank reconciliation is first to provide evidence that the difference exists not due to an error, and the accuracy of the entries in the cash book can be verified without any deliberate error or not. So there are rules there are reasons for this difference. As you guys know, first recorded in the cash book but not recorded in the bank statement. And second, recorded in the bank statement but not in the cash book. And lastly, errors, whether it made by the bank or by the business. Okay, and next.
I'm sorry, there's something wrong with my line.
Okay.
Yep, sorry, I'm back. So yeah, sorry, my line a bit weird. Alright, we should continue.
Okay, next. Okay, this is the most important thing. You must need to know about bank statement and the cash book, which is bank statement is opposite of the cash book. So if the money received, if we receive money, we need to record it in the debit side of the cash book, right? But in the bank statement, it will be on the credit side. So it goes same to when we pay the cash. So it will be recorded on the credit side of the cash book, right? But on the bank statement, it will be on the debit side. So you just need to know that the bank statement is opposite of the cash book. Okay, and next.
Next. Okay,
Okay,
this is the format of bank reconciliation.
Okay, this is the
As you
format.
can see, we will put the balance.
And this
I
one.
think my line a bit slow.
Okay.
Should I
Okay.
continue?
Okay. So you need to firstly we need to identify the bank balance, whether it was negative or positive, right? So if the bank balance per bank statement, if the information given it said that the bank balance was on the debit side, so it will be negative amount. So what you need to do is you need to write the bracket on the amount when you do the bank reconciliation. So you just need to memorize that if the information given, the bank balance was on the debit side, so you need to know that it was negative amount. And then you need to add the deposit in transit and error by the bank and deduct outstanding check and error by the bank. Okay, so and then bank balance per cash book. So this one, when you look at the question when in the Masa.p.m letter, so if the balance carry forward in the cash book is on the debit side, so it was the negative amount of the bank balance. So it will be negative amount. So you just need to memorize that if the bank balance on the debit side, balance carry forward on the debit side, so it will be negative amount. So, and add receivable notes, interest revenue minus charge collection note, dividend received, credit transfer, and deduct non-sufficient fund, bank service charges, and error made by the business. So this is the format of the bank statement. So I will pass it to Khairunnisa now.
Alright, so basically what we just taught right now is just the format and all the facts here and there. This is what we come out in our Masa.p.m in like less than 2 weeks, I assume. So we will show an example, and I hope you guys can like try to answer this question, because before we end our session today, we will show you the answer, and we'll explain one by one how to answer the question. So basically, we got a company. This is the cash book. You can see there's debit and credit side. There's a total for debit and credit. So the most important thing, like the first thing you need to see or to circle or to highlight is the balance. You need to make sure the balance is either in the credit side or the debit side. Let's say for this question, the balance stated in the credit side. So we know that this is a normal balance. Let's say the question show the balance, the ending balance at the debit side. So there is a credit balance, which is for that situation, it is an overdraft. So later when we do the bank reconciliation statement, we need to deduct the amount. So that's the most important thing, like the first main thing you need to make sure. And then this is the bank statement. This is the question they will provide like this. Also, same thing, the first thing is you need to make sure the balance. Like this one, it didn't say debit or credit. So it is a normal balance, which is for bank statement. The normal balance is at the credit side. So this is not a overdraft statement or something. So same thing, like you guys have a lot of Masa.p.m past year question, you guys have a lot of people question. You guys are aware that there will be some additional information. For this one, the first additional information is it's stated there that the check number 126204 is incorrectly recorded. So when we look back at the question, we can see there is one here this one is wrongly recorded. So we will show you guys on how to record that part. And then the second one is all of the entries in the bank statement are correct. This one, you guys boleh rasa yang macam this information are not important, but it is, because we will use this one untuk to do our like to redo the error, to calculate the error, because few students will tend to do mistake here where they assume the cash book amounts is the correct one, but it is not. So we will continue to the answer, or to how to do the answer. There's a few steps that you guys can follow. This one is for those yang memang start from bottom. Like I know some of you guys memang dah ada basic back then in school. So we dah provide one step for those yang memang tak ada basic. Like first step is, I dah cakap, we akan tengok dia punya balance, which is the cash book and the bank statement balance. If the difference between the two is due to the check issued by the business for the previous month, but the recipient has submitted this check to the bank in the current month. So this item should be ignored kalau like we dah guna that amount past month, like previous month we dah record. I will show you guys later. And then step 2 is we will compare the item in cash book with the item in the bank statement. Like I dah bagi tahu you guys tadi, cash book and bank statement ni, they are contra. So the way we nak compare is by looking at the debit side of the cash book and the credit side of the bank statement. Also vice versa, credit side cash book, debit side bank statement. And then after we compare, we will tick those we had with the same amount, we will cancel or tick. So that's mean we won't look at the number again. So when we want to do the bank reconciliation statement, we won't feel confused. We don't like go out of the box, like we dah tak tahu cara nak buat. So we akan follow step by step. After we cancel, so akan ada less amount of numbers lah. So step 4 is we will determine whether there are errors or not. For this question, there are errors, as the question mentioned. So the step 5 is we step up or we do the bank reconciliation statement and also the adjustment entry. The adjustment entries are not like wajib buat, because it is really depend on the question. If the question asks you to do, then you do. If the question doesn't ask you to do the adjustment entries, then you don't need to do that. Alright. Next, this session break we will skip since we don't have enough time, I think. So basically we will like show you step by step, following the step I just mentioned just now, on how to answer this question. So basically, as you can see, we already tick this one, because when we compare to a bank statement credit side, there's the exact number, which is here you can see. So we can cancel. The red one is the one I cancelled already. So we won't look at the number again. Same goes to 150 here, and also 680, 1500, and 300 for here. Okay. So, and then we will look at those numbers that we hasn't ticked. So those numbers are the numbers that we will record in our bank reconciliation. For cash book, first of all, we will part it into two parts, which is debit and credit. Those numbers that hasn't been ticked will be the deposit in transit, which is for this situation, it will be Suki and Marcos. And for credit side, we will record as outstanding check, which is Gopal company. Why we tak record the Sunmart stores? is because the question mentioned that is an error. So it is not an outstanding check, but it is an error. So I assume Faizal is here already. You want to explain another part? Or Faizal wants a speed slow? Shuhada and Faizal, you want to continue or want me to continue?
So you can just continue the bank statement.
No, alright, can.
About the error.
Alright, sure. So basically, the like complicated thingy in this question is basically the error, because most students tend to make mistake in the error part. So as you can see here, the question stated that bank statement has the correct amount. So here, the correct amount is 402 or 402. So we need to make sure that we don't record the incorrect amount in our bank reconciliation. So to do that, in order to do that, I prefer to do this manual method. I know there's a lot of method for you guys to calculate the error, but personally, I think this is the simple and easiest way. Like you can see how to record, which side to record, and the T account we are used to it already. So basically, I will do a T account, and I will bear in mind that the correct amount is 402. And then this is the cash book account. So when we refer at the cash book, at the cash book, the incorrect amount stated at the credit side. So basically, we will record it in the credit side as 40420. So as you can see here, we has somehow tersalah tambah, like we terlebih tambah our cash book. So in order to record the correct amount, which is 402, we need to deduct it with the incorrect amount. Let me show you. Like this. So as you can see here, the incorrect amount stated at the credit side. So this 18 ringgit, we will record it in the debit side. Why? It is because if we record at the credit side, we will increase the amount, which is it will go far away from the correct amount, which is 402, I'm sorry. So basically we will deduct, and then the final answer, which is 18, we'll put it at the debit side. So this is how it will be. So as you can see here, it's like clearly stated there that we need to add or put it in the debit side in our bank reconciliation statement. So if you guys buat this method using the T account, you guys can know for sure, oh, nanti dekat bank reconciliation kena tambah sebab sekarang dia dekat debit. I know there's a lot of method kan. So this one yang you boleh nampak clearly yang you kena tambah. Why? Sebab you dah terlebih record mula-mula tadi, which is 420.
So Kai, so if the bank reconciliation error on the credit side, so we need to deduct, right?
Yep, true. Okay, let's say the question stated that we terkurang record. Let's say here is 400. We terkurang record, right? So we terkurang RM2, correct? So in order to fix that mistake, we kena letak dekat credit side. Why? Sebab if we letak dekat debit side, it will decrease the amount. So we tak dapat capai our objective, which is to make sure the amount is 402. So when we letak at the credit side, dekat bank reconciliation statement, we akan tolak sebab we dah letak dekat credit side. Is it clear, Shuhada?
Yeah.
Alright. So basically, we dah dapat all of our item. We dah tick cash book and bank statement. We dah cancel those yang sama. And then, we dah ambil, I dah highlight tadi. Wait I go back. Okay, I dah highlight yang green. Green ni yang kita tak tick. So, kita akan record dekat bank reconciliation. And also, this green and this one. So, we dah dapat all the item we need. So, we can proceed with our bank reconciliation statement. Okay, for students yang memang tak ada basic account, you guys need to make sure that they won't provide us with format. Like mathematics, you got the formats in the like early of the PSPM paper, got format. For account, there is no format at all. So basically, you need to memorize exactly which one come first before another part. So basically, we need to put the bank balance first, which is we can see at the bank statement is 6133, and then we will add deposit in transit. For those who don't have any basic, you guys don't need to memorize like, oh, this is deposit in transit. No need. You just basically tengok dekat cash book, dekat bahagian debit yang belum tanda. That's it, simple. Tak payah nak hafal, oh, what is deposit in transit? How deposit in transit work? No need. It won't be asked in our PSPM. So, the simple way is, first nak tambah, tengok dekat cash book, bahagian debit yang belum tanda. Yang I dah highlight dengan green tadi, which is Suki and Marcos. Then you letak, you tambah, and then tambah balik dengan balance. Simple. And then, untuk deduct, tajuk dia is outstanding check. But you guys don't need to memorize, oh, what is outstanding check? How the outstanding check work? You guys just simply tengok dekat cash book, bahagian kredit yang belum tanda. That's it. So, and then, you akan tolak dengan yang you dah tambah tadi. And then you will get the adjusted bank balance per bank statement. Shuhada, you want to explain the cash book part?
Okay. So the bank balance per cash book tadi kita tahu it was 6,500 kan. And then we need to add this part, we need to look at the credit side of the bank statement. So macam kalau kita nampak tadi kan, kita tengok daripada debit of cash book and then credit of cash book kan dekat atas. But when we do the bank balance per cash book, we need to start with credit side of the bank statement punya bahagian part 3. I will just tulis macam, you can just write when you do the question, 1 on the debit side of the cash book, and 2 on the credit side of the cash book, and 3 on the credit side of the bank statement, and 4 on the debit side of the bank statement. So nanti you akan nampak tau, when we do the bank balance per cash book, we need to add the third column, which is credit side of the bank statement. Then we need to add dividend and error. Yang tadi kita dapat tu, kan kita tahu kan yang dia adalah on the debit side kan waktu kita buat T account. So we need to add it. Okay, and then we deduct this one. You need to look at the debit balance of the bank statement, which is fourth column lah kiranya. And then you need to add the book bank charges, bank service charges, and this one is not non-sufficient fund. It was error kat situ. It was insurance actually, if you look at on the question again. Okay, and then we just deduct it, and then we can get the adjusted bank balance as per cash book. So that is the how to do the chapter 6, and this one is for the bank reconciliation, right? So and we need to do the adjusting entries. So this is how I do the adjusting entries. So we just need to do the adjusting entries for the book balance of the cash book tau. So yang atas ni, we don't need to do it. So we just need to do the add and deduct for the bank balance of the cash book. So
Yeah, true.
you
We will
you can
ignore
just
the blue part.
yeah. So you can just this one you can just know that if on the add you need to debit bank and at the deduct you need to credit bank. So this one you macam dah kena ingat tau benda ni. So if the dekat add tu you need to debit bank and dekat deduct you need to credit bank. Lepas tu you need to know that if on the add tu kan ada dividend kan, so we need to credit dividend receive and
This one, yep.
dividend receive, or actually it was a dividend revenue lah macam tu. And then we record it as, okay, this one error, you guys cannot write it as error tau. We need to identify it was account receivable or account payable. So this one how to know it was account payable is when we look at the error on the cash book kan. So kita nampak dia dekat credit. So it was kita bayar duit. So it was account payable, not the account receivable. But the error, if the error on the debit side, it was the account receivable because we receive money kan. So you can just know if the credit side it was account payable and on the debit side it was account receivable. And this one you guys need to write the name tau, macam account payable and what name. Macam tadi soalan tadi error itu adalah daripada Sunmat apa tadi Sunmat kan, and then so we need to write there account payable Sunmat. So it was to record the receipt of dividends and account payable. And then for the deduct part, so we need to debit the bank charges and bank service charge and insurance. Okay. And then record of, we just need to write all of it in one. But if you guys worry about these adjusted entries, you can just write it one by one, like debit bank and credit dividend received and bank debit bank and credit accounts payable. Just write it one by one. No need to compile it in one adjusted entries. Okay.
Yeah, so that's basically it. So we will go through this again. Untuk buat bank reconciliation statement, first thing we akan compare cash book and bank statement, and then second step we akan tick one by one if the number is same. Kita akan tengok debit cash book, credit bank statement, and vice versa, credit cash book, debit bank statement. And then we akan masukkan those yang belum tick dalam our bank reconciliation, and we need to memorize the format. So I think this is just a general summary. You know that the definition is definition for cash. We know that cash book is used to record the business cash flows. We know that the bank statement records the business cash flow, which is administrated by the bank, which is we receive the bank statement from our bank. And then the bank reconciliation is prepared to coordinate the difference that occur between the bank statement and the cash book. So, yep, that's basically it. I'm so sorry for you guys because Faizal cannot participate with our explanation due to some line problem whatsoever. But I hope Faizal can join us for Q&A session.
Okay, so that would be all of your presentation, I suppose, right, Krishen and Shuhada?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to clarify a bit for Carissa, Shuhada, and Faizal, because actually today there's some connection problem with Faizal, but actually Faizal contributed a lot in preparing all the slides, because it was like he was like actually monitoring the whole progression. He was like, yeah, I want to add this into the slide. I actually managed the major part of the slide. So somehow it's so disappointing today in which he has some connection problem. That's why he couldn't join us today. But it's okay. Let's wait for his comeback if it's possible. And without wasting much time, because we're already 9:40, so we're gonna have about 20 minutes for Q&A session. So We'll start with the first comment.
Oh.
Account susah lah.
Account basically
Account ke sebab
susah bila we tak faham the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, bagi saya susah lah sebab saya belajar sains kan. Tadi nampak dashboard tu, apa ni? Okay. Okay, ada compliment. Thanks, I faham ID. Okay. Thank you. Lebih faham sekarang. Oh,
glad it
nice
helps.
improvement. Okay, there's a question from Tarzani. Kalau nilai error tu jatuh pada belah dari macam 18 dari jatuh kat belah dari so terus masuk dekat cashbook ke? Oh, tak faham.
Yep. So I know you
Bagi
tak
saya
faham because you are a science student. So basically kalau kita buat T account tadi, kalau error tu jatuh dekat debit, automatic kita akan add lah. Kalau error tu jatuh dekat credit, we akan tolak. So that's the function we nak buat T account. Untuk clarify, untuk kita betul-betul sure, oh ini kena tambah.
One more thing macam kalau dia error by the business, so it was the error on the cash book tau. But it was the error by the bank, so it was on the adjusting at the bank balance per bank statement. So you just need to know that if the error was made by the business, so it will be on the cash book. So the T account just to determine whether it was add or deduct. That's all.
True.
Okay, thank you Khairunnisa and Shuhada for this. Hope it answers Tarzani questions. Okay, so the next one from Aida. Untuk soalan nak cari error amount dekat cashbook tadi kan, wajib ke kita buat account T?
Account T tu tak wajib pun because you won't get any marks for that.
Yeah.
Actually, few ways to cari the error. There's a lot of equation, there's a lot of ways you can congak. If you used to it, you can congak, oh ini tambah, ini tolak. Reason being why we show how to use the T account is for those students yang memang start from the basic. They cannot congak, they cannot like teka-teka, agak-agak, do the simple way, you know. So by doing the T account, you guys betul-betul nampak, oh this is the amount. And it is at the credit or debit side. So you guys yang dah biasa tu, you tak perlu buat pun because you won't get any marks. Tapi yelah bila we PSPM kan, we akan get nervous. We akan lost. All yang dah belajar suddenly hilang. So when we buat the T account, we can like ingat balik one by one. Oh, this is how to do it. This is how to do it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and then macam kalau error tu tak semestinya ada dekat deduct or add kan. So macam itu macam dia very macam good way lah untuk tahu dia dekat add ke kat deduct.
Okay, so kalau saya nak benar-benar belajar account dari sekarang, so saya kena mula buat dengan account T dulu lah kan?
Yup, that's the first thing you will belajar how to do account.
Okay, in case I make frequent errors. Okay, from Hidayah tu, time mana yang kita perlu letak tanda kurungan tu?
Tanda kurungan
kalau untuk balance, kita akan tengok kalau dekat cash book, I dah mention tadi, kalau dia baki, balance carry forward dia letak dekat bahagian kredit, tak payah kurungan sebab dia balance normal. Tapi kalau kita tengok dekat cash book tu, balance carry forward dia yang last kali dekat debit. So that means itu adalah baki tak normal, which is overdraft. So kita kena letak kurungan representing tolak. So same goes to bank statement. Kalau baki dia kata dekat situ baki debit, kita kena letak kurungan sebab itu adalah overdraft. Kalau dia kata baki credit bank statement, so kita akan automatic tahu itu baki normal, tak perlu kurungan, tak perlu tolak.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ada lagi, kalau tak tulis nama dekat account payable, tak dapat markah ke?
I think yes, sebab if not pun macam tu kita punya langkah berjaga-jaga lah sebab maybe the pemeriksa boleh jadi strict kan, so macam the account payable you need to know the name like that or macam tu.
Sebab account payable yang general ni usually is the control account, like including all the transaction. So kalau we specify what's the account payable, it's easier for us. And then untuk this question kan, kadang-kadang pemeriksa saja-saja macam nak be strict sebab tak nak kita dapat banyak sangat markah or something. So they akan tend to cari our mistake, even our small mistake, and then they will deduct our mark. So better letak nama. This one kan, untuk account payable ni, bukan untuk chapter 6 je tau. For 6 until, you got what, 11 chapter? 6 until 11 yang come out into SPM, we kena make sure that we letak account payable nama and then account receivable nama. Only except for our control account. That's it. Yang lain semua please letak nama.
Okay. So yang seterusnya, how to get a cash book balance if CRJ and CPG is given?
Okay, this one basically if the question you need to calculate the bank balance kan of cash book. So the question will give you the banks the opening balance of the cash. Like macam dia akan bagi kita balance yang first kali and then you just need to add the cash receipt journal and minus the cash payment journal. Then you can get the bank balance of the cash book. Selalunya soalan yang macam dia separate the cash receipt journal and the cash payment journal ni, dia akan bagi kita baki yang awal, baki tunai awal atau baki bank awal. So you just need to add the cash receipt journal and tolak dengan total cash payment journal so you can get the cash book balance untuk yang kita letak on the bank reconciliation. So I hope you faham lah apa yang I terang.
Okay, saya rasa sangat jelas tadi Shuhada. Okay,
next.
daripada Iman Batrisha, thank you, I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Ikhwan, hi, saya singer. Apa ni?
Hai, saya tak.
Saya pun singer.
Saya tak. Bye.
Chapter 9 is quite hard. Bagi saya semua account pun susah.
That's a fact. So if you rasa it's quite hard, you guys can just contact any PAL leaders.
You can just DM us
happily to help you.
You can just contact me or
Faizal also and also others
for further study.
Kalau pelajar KMS kan sebenarnya pelajar KMS boleh pergi ke Xcode Academic KMS punya IG dan dekat biografi tu ada satu link korang boleh klik dan dalam tu ada semua name list untuk holiday semua subjek. Tapi kalau bagi college lain kan korang boleh
we can give the easiest way to answer lah, insyaAllah.
So bagi college lain pun jangan segan untuk tanya holiday sendiri.
We can also give other tips.
Easy je kau. Amat confident.
Semoga A+. Perfect.
From Alif to account for receivables for the next session.
Inshallah, there is a topic called account for receivable. So if there is another session, we will cover that chapter. Or you guys can just DM us or anything. We can help. Yeah.
Okay, so saya akan take note of that lah. Kalau perlukan, kita akan buat lagi ya.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Power.
Thank you, Hari.
Mat lagi, account susah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Thank you, I understand more.
Welcome.
Thank you, Kai and Shuhada.
Welcome, Aida.
From Aiman Power Leaders KMS.
Yeah, true.
Good job, guys.
That's right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Aiman is going to present on Thursday, I guess. Okay. It's like what Shuhada said that error in account receivable and account payable refer yang mana? Cash book ke?
Shuhada start ke?
Saya rasa Shuhada start ataupun Khairisa boleh explain for Shuhada.
Okay, dia kata that error which is account receivable dengan account payable nak refer mana, cash book ke? Ya, true, we akan refer cash book. So, kita akan tengok error tu. Kalau error tu dekat debit side, definitely it will be account receivable. Kalau error tu stated dekat credit side, definitely it will be account payable.
Oh, okay. Okay, so seterusnya diikuti dengan soalan daripada Nurul. Kalau error tu kita tulis payment overstated, boleh ke?
I'm not sure about this, but I am like aware that different lecturer has different ways. But as far as I know, yang I dah tengok few other students from other lecturer, we semua guna errors. So untuk like elak any problem, kita guna cara yang paling safe. We play safe, we tulis error.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sebelah error tu boleh juga tulis nama dia. Macam tu.
Okay. From Simkian. Oh, Simkian is from KMS. How to determine the credit or debit balance for bank statement before bank reconciliation?
We mentioned before, we tengok the debit or credit. For cash book, kalau balance carry forward dekat credit, it is a debit balance. If dia stated dekat sebelah debit, it is an overdraft, so we'll deduct. And also vice versa to bank statement. We mentioned like 3 times just now.
Selalunya
Okay.
kalau bank statement, if it did not mention anything kan, so it was the normal balance lah. So just know it was positive. But if the bank statement, dia tulis kat bawah tu, under tepi dia punya amount tu, DR or debit, so it was the negative. We just memorize it like that lah, macam tu.
Okay. So, seterusnya daripada Nick Nur Ala Nabila. Soalan kau nanti dalam PSPM banyak, sempat kena buat. Sempat ke?
Memang banyak, and for sure like back then in SPM pun memang very very short time. And for now, I just ask my lecturer like berapa question apa semua, and we are still like waiting for the final answer. That bila kita dah dapat how many question, we kena for me lah, for those yang memang very very datang dari basic, like betul-betul tak ada basic account, and then betul-betul nak score like not the bare lah, tapi memang nak follow step by step, I recommend untuk buat chapter 6 dulu, sebab this one yang betul-betul senang compared to those chapter 11 yang memang very very serabut kepala nak cari. So untuk jimatkan masa and dapatkan banyak markah, go with the easiest first. And then kalau you tak seimbang, tak payah nak fikir, oh I kena seimbangkan baru pergi question lain. No need. Just simply go there and there. Sebab markah tu tak datang daripada balance ke tak balance tau. Dia ada, memang ada markah kat situ, tapi those step by step tu semua ada markah. So just keep doing. Jangan, oh tak balance macam mana ni. Jangan. Just keep on doing and doing. Right? Next question.
Okay, so yang tu suggestion daripada Kai, tapi kena rujuk kepada lecturer sendiri kan untuk format yang terbaru ni?
Yep, true.
So if let's say the error is on bank statement.
Okay, I mentioned before.
Ya, semua.
Bank statement won't be any error. So basically, tadi dekat question kan, dekat additional information, dia dah state yang
bank statement. Is it going to be the opposite, like if the error already falls on you?
So basically, bank statement semua amount yang dia bagi is correct. There is no incorrect information. So mana-mana yang salah datang dari cash book. That's it. Very simple. So we tak perlu nak pening, oh error dekat bank statement dekat mana. No need.
Yeah. Selalunya dekat cash book lah error by the business. But if memang akan ada soalan macam error tu bank yang tersilap kan, so dia adalah error dekat atas bahagian bank book balance as per bank statement. So we need to add also macam tu. Just dia punya tempat lah. Kalau dia by the business dekat bawah, add dekat bawah. Tapi kalau dia error by the bank, add dekat atas.
Okay.
Next, I think
how do I manage my time during the exam?
Manage my time.
I also don't know.
for time management, we tak dapat lagi dia punya final like syllabus sebab syllabus keep changing and kita pun macam online class apa semua. So basically untuk manage time ni I cakap tadi, keep like answer every question, sentuh every question even though dia tak seimbang, even though tak balance.
Yeah.
And jangan like
Freestyle.
obsess sangat nak balance. Yeah. And next, I think lines on a bit slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay, you can wait.
Kalau bank statement buat error tu macam mana? So yang tadi lah, dia
Kalau bank statement buat error tu macam mana?
dia same step macam key account tadi, dia tempat je lain. So the step macam yang Khairunnisa just show us tadi, cuma tempat dia, kalau dia debit side, so the add on the bank balance of the bank statement, macam tu. Sekiranya macam if the error on the bank statement, so we need to adjust on the bank statement. Kalau error tu by the business, so we need to adjust on the cash book lah, sebab business yang buat salah kan, kita salah record. Sama ada terlebih atau terkurang kan. So kalau bank statement yang buat error, so kita kena adjust dia dekat bank balance as per bank statement. Macam tu je. Next.
Ica, oh hi aku, please call me Ica, okay. Dia tanya basically question macam ni berapa markah. It's really depends sebab every year the syllabus kan changing kan. So as far as I know it's like 6, 7 something. But we will reconfirm it with our lecturer lah. I still asking those.
Yeah. If kalau macam you guys pernah buat pra PSPM kan. So dia punya markah selalunya macam tinggi jugalah. Dia macam 9 markah macam tu. So kalau kita dapat buat soalan yang senang ni, so we just macam kita dah tahu lah, kita dah dapat 9 markah just for this chapter macam tu. Other than ada chapter yang susah macam chapter 9 kan, accounting for liabilities, bit hard. Okay.
Nak chapter macam ni please. Saya rasa soalan ni untuk saya kan.
Ya untuk Zan.
I think so.
Okay, kalau dari
Kita buat
KMS,
paperwork.
kalau Farhana dari KMS, okay, we will try to do like more of this, but we try our best lah, okay. But if you're from other colleges, maybe you can like respond it to your president of power program or your exco academics, okay. Okay, macam mana kalau nak mau tahu kalau payment related atau payment related?
Macam mana nak tahu? It's very simple. As I mentioned before, bank statement will always be correct. So basically, takkan ada salah dekat bank statement. Kalau question kata dekat additional information, this date, contoh 27 April, error. Basically memang cash book yang salah. Sebab dekat question pun dah state yang all numbers or all amount in the bank statement is correct. Sebab basically kan bank statement ni is the like formal or legit bank statement yang you guys receive daripada bank. So basically in our company we assume that bank tak buat mistake sebab dia orang pakai robot programming and all. So in our PSPM lah basically. Tapi in real life there will be error and mistake. But in our PSPM syllabus, bank statement always betul. That's it. So senang je nak ingat.
So dia akan bagi tahulah. Jangan risau, Bisham, dia akan cakap mana yang betul, mana yang salah. Macam tu.
Okay, daripada Nazir, kalau yang error tu yang amount dia kena darab 2 macam mana? Boleh explain tak?
Special case, Shuhada you nak explain ke nak I?
I tak cakap je nak explain boleh.
Alright then. Okay, untuk double ni, there's a very special case for this. I dah tengok soalan PSPM, ada like 1 or 2 yang kena darab. Basically, kita kena double kalau kita tersalah letak tempat, bukan tersalah amount. We misplace it sebab we sepatutnya letak kredit. tapi we terletak dekat debit. So this one kita kena double record. So kita kena first record is kita kena balancekan balik account. Lepas tu second record is the correct amount. So sebab tu dia kena double record.
Chapter 11 is equal to Lost in the Forest. Oh.
But I
chapter
think
11
chapter 11 is easy also lah. Dia macam quite interesting lah buat chapter 11.
Chapter 11 is
daripada
very
chapter 9. Dia macam bosan sikit.
kena ada those like you tak perlu hafal a lot of things tapi you betul-betul kena tahu ini masuk mana, ini masuk mana. One thing you masuk salah, everything like lost in the forest already.
Kalau salah satu, disaster semua kan?
Kind of true.
Is water wet? Of course water is wet. Okay, thanks. Okay, so appreciation to Khai and Shuhada. Nak contact boleh boleh sebab tadi saya ada mention dekat IG Exco Academic KMS tu ada name list dekat biografi dan korang boleh just layari dekat sana dan dapatkan nama power leader yang korang nak jumpa. Okay?
Yeah.
Sorry for the stupid question. Oh, the stupid question was the water. It's not stupid, it's not stupid. Okay.
It's okay.
Thanks for
We
writing
still
your
need some humor and jokes.
Yeah. Makes things more interesting. It's from Mafo. Thank you guys. Korang memang awesome. Yes, Khai and Shuhada and also Faizal is extremely awesome.
Thank you for joining us today.
For the adjustment entries, kalau kita gabung error tu, dia punya explanation tu kena mention yang mana?
Oh, adjustment entries. So, as far as I know lah, I dah tengok PSPM question. Most of the question akan cakap explanation omitted. So basically tak payah explanation. But then, if kena juga, we akan buat, if we combine, we akan buat very brief explanation. Tak perlu nak stated, oh company mana, oh what kind, tak payah.
Just boleh juga tulis macam to record adjusting payment for the cash book. Macam tu lah. Macam tu.
I hope you guys do the next session. Okay.
This is for John.
Okay. I got your point there. Okay, I'll try my best. From Fazira, kalau tadi awak mau yang kira-kira tu tak salah, kita buat imbangan tugas ke tak apa? Maka free juga tak? Macam kat sekolah dulu.
Imbangan ni juga basically we won't do this for our PSPM sebab we dah buat for our assignment. We got 2 assignment if I'm not mistaken. One of it including imbangan juga. So I will focus on the first question, which is kalau dari awal emang kira tu salah. So yes, there will be few parts yang kita tersalah tekan calculator ke here and there. Awal-awal emang dah salah. But then those steps yang kita buat, yang kita masukkan daripada question kita masukkan, that part kita akan dapat question. Of course, kita akan lose mark dekat final answer yang seimbang tu, kita tak akan seimbang. Tapi in the middle part, we akan dapat few marks. So, basically, my advice is, kalau you tahu you salah kira sebab tak balance, tak payah nak stress, tak payah nak, I kena balancekan juga sampai you ignore another questions.
Masih fikir lagi.
Yeah.
Just move on lah on the next question.
Kalau ada situation
yang sama macam tadi kan. This one is like macam error, kita salah tempat. Macam sepatutnya we record it on the debit tapi business kita record it on the credit. So dia salah tempat kan. So kita kena keluarkan yang tu dulu and then we need to add macam tu. Sebab tu dia jadi double tau. Double amount. Sebab kalau amount kita akan buat macam T-account just the same thing macam tadi Kai tunjuk. So kalau dia salah tempat dia akan jadi double lah macam tu.
Next. I asked chapter non-current asset involving depreciation. So,
can.
Hilang already? So basically you can contact any of the PAL leaders.
Apa jadi kalau kita buat explanation?
Yeah.
You will smart.
I'm again.
That's it. Only if
depends lah. Kalau
only if
Krishen
the
kata
person
ignore explanation,
perlu
okay lah.
Tapi kalau dia tak kata ignore tu, you just write the explanation.
True. Kena buat. You will lose like 1 marks, I think. If I'm not mistaken. 1 or half lah.
Kalau incorrectly credited, check receive.
Incorrectly credited a check. Oh, so ini yang kita kena buat double tadi tu. Kita kena double amount sebab kita incorrectly credited. Maksudnya kita salah. Kita salah letak tempat. Tapi dekat our cash book lah basically. So this one yang tadi few people tanya, kenapa kena double? Kenapa kena double? So this is the situation. Kita incorrectly credited atau incorrectly debited. So itu yang kita kena double the amount.
Okay.
It need my
It need
help.
my help for pound.
Yeah, basically LAM
Oh,
is PAL
sebab
leaders
LAM,
for accounts and maths.
Yeah.
Yeah, in KMS. Okay, so I think that's it for all the questions, and the rest are compliments and appreciation to both Carissa and also Shuhada, as well as Faizal
I
that
think I
lost
saw
the
one more
connection.
question. Is it? If I'm not mistaken?
Is this one?
Account
Yeah.
chapter berapa masuk?
Yup.
6
Basically tak payah fokus daripada chapter 1. It's 6 until 11.
Yup.
Okay, so sama dengan yang ni lah, kan?
Yup, true.
Okay, so tadi dah jawab.
This one.
Okay, from Tarzani, you guys are amazing. Keep up the good job, and you are really
Thank you
clear
so
my doubts.
much.
Wow.
Okay, thank
Hi,
you.
KMC.
I'm really glad
Thank
it
you.
helps.
Okay, I guess these are all the questions from our audience and our friends from other matriculation colleges. So, it's already past 10 o'clock. So, I would like to bid my thank you to Carissa and Shuhada for spending a lot of efforts in this presentation, as well as the preparation together with Faizal. It's like so disappointing that Faizal can't join us, but we understand him, and so we hope that audiences and other students in the YouTube can understand and comprehend Faizal as well. So I've sent a link right at the comment section, so you guys can fill in the Google form just to inform us on what to improve and take a gosh for us to make further adjustments. Okay. And kan tadi ada banyak komen yang kata nak buat sesi PAL untuk accounting lagi kan. So saya akan try, dan Biro Akademik saya pun akan try tapi tak dapat guarantee pada semua yang kita akan buat PAL sesi macam ni lagi. Tapi kalau korang dari college lain, sebenarnya boleh rujukan perkara ni kepada ketua PAL masing-masing, termasuk juga dengan Exco Academic College masing-masing, sebab kita semua ni matriculation students dan patutlah kita bantu each other kan. Okay, so last compliment, thank you guys. Hope you all will do sessions for other chapters too like this from KMP as well. Okay, like Harisni tadi. Okay, so I think that's it. So again, thank you to Carissa and Shuhada and also Faizal, and we shall end our sharing today. There's another question. Boleh tanya Khai tak kalau ada soalan nak tanya? Boleh kan?
Boleh Zira. Tapi jangan semua tanya I. Oh my god, man. But can.
Yeah.
If I rasa macam too many people ask, I will pass to another PAL. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sebab kita ada banyak PAL leader lagi kan?
Yeah.
Sebenarnya Khai merupakan ketua subjek untuk account dekat KMS dan Shuhada merupakan salah seorang pembantu. Dan Faizal juga merupakan salah seorang ketua PAL untuk subjek account juga, hanya dia dapat join kita pada hari ini. Okay, very clear and informative, +1 subscription. Oh, thank you for subscribe to us. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay.
Help John to gain like more than 1,000 subscribe, guys.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess these are all. So we shall end our sharing today in a count of 10. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.